STARS web
This
page.
meeting is being recorded.
All right, so as we move on through the information here that we've got showing up on our screen, you will see that we've got some check-ins, some checklists for you. And so this is what you're going to look for. They'll be posted on our website, STARS Pension Administration System webpage. Right now, the employer STARS pre-flight checklist is there. That was posted the other day, and it is available under the training manuals and guides. The last sentence there has the download this training checklist. So you can go ahead and find that checklist there. So this is just information regarding the check-ins since August of 2025 and the reference to what was covered each month. And the videos for each month are available on the webpage under the STARS Historical Resources at the bottom of the page. And this checklist will provide you with a reference to match the video with the topic. It also has information regarding the trainings that we have been providing. And so if you look at if you go to the checklist, which you'll find on the web page, it also has a checklist for all the videos and the guides for the training that we had, topics that we have covered these past few weeks. All righty, so the training and resources, again, this is going to be on the webpage, and training will embark on the final frontier of training this week with STARS for local boards and member self-service today at 2 p.m. And we'll follow up with Q&A on Thursday, tomorrow at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So again, the prior weeks that we covered, including the administration setup, demographics, contributions, health insurance, and manual and import processes, and so forth, that's available on that STARS Pension Administration webpage. So you can go ahead and go there to get those resources. So a cutover and post-launch implementation. So please keep track of the following timeline. And Ramon, I believe I've seen the information is also posted on the in the employer portal for when you go to import contributions. So Tuesday, March 24th at 5 p.m. So that is the last day to submit items through the current system, such as your contribution imports. And from Wednesday, March 25th, no employers will no longer have access to that employer portal on the website. And so you will be holding contribution reporting until STARS launches. So Wednesday, March 25th is the last day to pay invoices by e-bill. Employers must submit payments by this date or hold until STARS is launched. And so employers are encouraged to close all the invoices prior to this date and time. And so as we move forward into the end of March, on Wednesday, March 25th through Monday, April 13th, is the blackout period. So there's no access to portals on the website during this transition to STARS. And on Monday, April 13th is when we're expected to launch STARS, and we will notify the employers of the launch. We do have information regarding and you'll have to bear with me because again, I'm no formal tech person. There's a URL that we will be providing you regarding that link to get to STARS. And that information will also be provided to you, so you'll have that. Let's see. there was a couple other things there. Let me get that in front of me so I can look at it. Um, for the finance side of things, we will be providing finance the banking, our banking account tied to our side of things. So that way the employers can notify your banks as to what accounts are going to be floating back and forth between us and you. I don't know how best to explain that. I'm no, again, tech person, but we will be providing that information. And let's see here. Designated administrators. We went ahead and verified those individuals about a year and a half ago. And so we will be sending out an email to those contacts. Now we know that these administrators will be set that have probably changed since then. I have heard from some employers, so we know this. We understand this, and so we are going to be providing a form for authorization to update your administrators. And so that will be coming shortly, so you can go ahead and update that. Once we get that completed document, then our step is to update STARS so that individual has access and can then go in and create that user access for staff to get into STARS. So again, there's a lot of pieces that are going to be happening in the next few weeks, but we do know that the administrators could have changed, and we are going to provide a path for that to be updated for access into the employer self-service. Let's see. Office hours. So we went over the dates that the current system will no longer be available. And with the launch of STARS on April 13th, we will be having live support available with Zoom office hours. So our office hours for the live Zoom meeting will be Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon and 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And these hours will be adjusted as needed week by week. So, and will be posted on the website, so you can keep up to date with that. And it's for the most efficient support. Please join us for those Zoom office hours. Using this method ensures you'll get the best support experience once we do go live. Let's see. I think that is it. That's a lot of information. So again, once we, March 24th is the last day to submit contributions in our current system. Getting that e-bill situated by March 25th. And then we will have a blackout period. So contributions will be on hold until we launch STARS. And the employer does go into the employer self-service and can import those contributions and get that payment set up, as Harold had covered in the payments training. And we do know that this is a period of time where employers will be catching up. So we will have a grace period that we will take into account for getting everything caught up after STARS launches with regards to contributions and such. Okay. Are there any questions that we can help with? Let's see here. Whoops, sorry, hang on.
Yeah, Joanne, we do have a few questions that have come through. The first two I will go ahead and address, and it is related to just what you talked about from the employer perspective in terms of blackout periods and closeout dates within our current portals. The question is on the member side with member self-service, will they be also advised of the launch? Will they also be advised of the blackout periods? And the short answer to that is yes. From a blackout period perspective, we are also within those particular portals for our members, and our members, whether they're an active contributing member versus a retired member, just because of our current environment in that we work out of two different databases for those particular groups. Each of them have their own portals, right? And so we will be having communications posted to the portals similar to what the employers will be seeing or already seeing in the portals related to last transaction dates within the current portals, as well as the blackout periods until we are go live in stars in April. And so, as part of that, yes, they are being put on notice as well from that perspective. So those members who regularly are going into our portals and doing transactions, if they're an active member and running, estimates or just looking at their contribution history, or if they're retired members looking to make changes to their direct deposits and address changes, things of that sort, they will see those who are using the portals regularly will see that information related to last transaction dates next week and the blackout period through April. In addition to that, they are also going to be put on notice within that communication on those portals that when we reestablish in STARS in the new member self-service, that they will have to go through a registration process. So all members, all of our members who are looking to get access into STARS once we go live will be going through a registration process. And so, from the perspective of communicating to our members, rather than being inundated with 60,000 members trying to go in all at the same time and launch and registering for the system, we are kind of taking a slow, soft approach in terms of our communication to the members. One way is through those portals, as I just talked about. So those who are actively engaged with us on a regular basis, going into our portals and doing actions and transactions, they will know when they next time they try to go into the transact and try to go into the portals in the next few days, they will see the similar communication that the portals will be shutting down and that the blackout periods will be in place, and that they'll need to go through the registration process. For all other members who may not necessarily have immediate transactions that they deal with, or they're not actively engaged right now in utilizing our portals, we will also be going through a communication exercise and a communication campaign to all of our membership in kind of a slow process. We're still working through, how that groupings are going to work in terms of, will we start with our public safety group, then move into the corp group, then move into elected officials, or by demographic types. Because again, we are on the member services side, we are 30 30 full-time staff supporting 60,000 members, as well as our 300 plus employers. And so we want to ensure that we're providing the highest level of service. And one way to do that is really to kind of take a slow rolling approach with our membership so that we are not inundated with a lot of questions and issues around trying to log in or registering in the system. And so we want to make sure that those who are actively engaged are aware, and they'll be aware by going into our portals right now and they'll see the communication. And then as we begin our regular iteration of outreach and communication to our members, then we'll continue to see more and more activity within the new system. It's also been on our website since the kickoff of the project. Members have access to the same website that you all have access to because it's on our main public site regarding the STARS project. So they are aware, and it has been communicated that we are transitioning to a new system. But in terms of go live and rollout and registration, we're trying to take a soft approach and a steady approach uh, through iterative communication with our membership as to not inundate our call center, not inundate all of our teams on the production side, and quite frankly, make sure that we don't have 60,000 members all at one time trying to access the system. So yes, I know that that was a lot of information there, but yes, we are looking to communicate the same information to our membership as well. Question related, Joann, to the blackout period and contribution reporting. So if our blackout period starts next week and we have a payroll that runs on April 3rd, will we have to hold our reporting of the contributions and payment until such time when we launch on the 13th?
Thank you, Robert. Yes. So, um, from what I can tell, like a lot of the March pay period ending dates are the last pay periods that will be remitted through our current system. And then some employers are gonna have remitted through pay period ending March 15th already, which is or will be, so that's good. And so March 29th and that after that will be in STAR. So yes, you will hold off on reporting contributions until STARS launches April 13th, and then you can upload those pay periods like that March 29th or like that April 3rd into STARS and have that payment set up through STARS and the employer self-service. So it is just holding off and then remitting once STARS goes live. And there will not, again, there will be a grace period that we will have that will provide that, that interest will not be calculated, and we'll take a look at that. We'll keep looking at that as we keep moving forward in STARS. But there's no specific time frame. It's just that we know who our employers are who are timely, and we will make sure that that we provide that period an opportunity to get those contributions updated and imported into STARS and paid for that. So hopefully that helps. Are there any other questions?
I have a
Yeah. Yes,
question.
Joanne, there are a couple more questions. And Renee, I see that you have a question, and I will come right back to you. I just want to kind of
Sure.
get through the chat
Yep.
questions first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, so there are a couple of follow-up questions related to the hold, basically the blackout period, with respect to remitting the contributions. And you did, indicate yes, if your pay period occurs on and after the 24th when we close and before the 13th when we anticipate going live, do you hold those contributions and reporting of contributions and reporting of enrollments for new hires? And the short answer is yes. Again, like Joanne says, you will be holding on that. So then the follow-up questions that have come through are around the interest calculations. And I will take this question, Joanne, because as we have been communicating over the last, well, 5 years as we've been going through this project, that we will be implementing uh, automatic business rules within the system to calculate interest for those late reported contributions and those late reporting employers. And so the question has come up, as you mentioned, that yes, this is a new world for all of us, and we all understand that this is going to take time, and we're all in this together through this process. And so we understand that, yes, you will be holding contributions. And so does that mean we're going to be automatically applying interest based upon the blackout periods? Short answer is no. As we mentioned during the trainings of contribution reporting and payment processing, that we do understand that this is a transition for all of us. And so we understand that and we plan to have grace around that, meaning that for those that are going to have to hold, like if your pay period, the example of the pay period that ended on 4/3, you're not going to be able to even begin the upload process until 4/13, and then you have to make payments. Do you run the risk of bumping into that statutory requirement, which again has always been in the statute, that employers must report and pay within 10 days of their pay date? We understand that that may be impacted by this blackout period. And so while the system may automatically want to calculate invoices for interest payment, we understand that this is a transition for all of us. And so we will have functionalities to be able to address any invoices that are being created uh, for interest based upon the late reporting during this transitional period. So I want to kind of assure the group here that, as of the 14th of April, if you, on the 15th, your due date was for your prior payrolls and you haven't done it, and now it's happening now, and you're making payments, that we're not automatically going to start charging interest immediately. We get that. We're gonna provide for grace and work through that process with our employers as we transition to the new system. Now, having this conversation a year from now on you late reporting contribution and whether we're going to charge interest, that's going to be a different conversation. That is going to be more of a conversation on, how do we get you to report on a regular basis and report in accordance to statute. So I want to kind of level set with the group here that, as of day one, you're not automatically going to be charged interest for late reporting, because we understand that this is a transition for everyone, including ourselves. So there is going to be a grace period, and we have not yet determined what that grace period is going to be. So I can't say it's going to be just for the next month, for the next 2 months. We're going to take it as we start experiencing the work with our employers on, how long we continue with the grace period. But like I said, this conversation next year probably will be a little different if we have an employer who's barely starting to report contributions and wanting to get interest waived in those scenarios. So I hope that that puts a little bit of a calmness to you all, that, yes, we've been talking interest. Yes, we've been talking that the system will be calculating interest automatically. But we all understand that this is a transitional period for everyone, including our employers and members. And so we understand that, and we will be, putting in place appropriate mechanisms for, waiving interest during this transitional period. So I want to put you guys all at ease with respect to that. A follow-up, I think I'll also take this one, Joann. A follow-up was related to uh, the reporting of your contributions prior to the closeout of our current portals. So example was, I go in on the 24th to report my contributions, and we all know that through eBill, you have to wait for eBill to establish the invoicing and eBill to make the payment, and it's usually within a business day that occurs. And the question becomes, okay, if I can't get into eBill after the 26th and I have that outstanding invoice, what happens with that invoice? Well, our hope and our goal is that we can close out as many invoices as possible, open invoices, prior to our cutover exercises. So if in the event, in that example, if in the event that you just were unable to get into eBill to make your payment, but have reported the contribution in the portal, so we do have that contribution reporting in place, that will have an open invoice in our system that will then be converted into stars. So we are going to be converting over open invoices that are still showing in our system that have not been closed out with payments. And so that will be in the new system. So when we go live in April 13th, if in that example you uploaded your contribution on the 24th, we're unfortunately unable to finally make the payment and e-bill by the 26th, that same transaction will be in stars as an open transaction so that when you get into a stars and you set up your payments, your ACH payments within stars, you then will be able to make payment against that open invoice. Our hope and our goal is that we can get those invoices cleared out and paid um, before cutover. But if that doesn't occur, we plan for that as well. And so that those open transactions and open invoices will be converted into stars. And when you as an employer get access and can get into stars, you will then have that transaction and invoice available for payment through stars. You will not be able to make it an e-bill because we will officially be closed in e-bill, but the open invoice will still be showing in stars and payment can be made in stars. Renee, I know you were gonna ask a question, so I'll take a pause there and open it up to your question.
Thank you. Okay, so and thanks for your explanations. My question is, you are going to be live on April 13th. And for that payroll that we're holding the file, does that mean we are able to get you that file on that day? Or is it more realistic to think on Tuesday, the 14th?
I would say realistically the 14th. The system, we do anticipate that stars will be live by the 13th, and you could go in there and do it and do the upload yourself. But given, however many employers we're going to be working with to get access into the system and being able to access and do their transactions for uploads, it may make better sense for you all to hold until the 14th to get into the system. And again, that kind of goes to the point of why we're instituting grace period on the interest, because we know we're going to be working through all of these issues with our employers, getting access into the system, walking them and triaging, any troubleshooting around that, walking through, uploading the contribution and things of that sort. So we know it's going to take time. While we say we'll be go live and you'll have access as of the 13th, technically you will have access as of the 13th, so you could go in on the 13th, but understand that if you run into issues and you're trying to troubleshoot, you'll need to work with us, and you may not eventually be able to get your file in until the 14th or the 15th.
Okay.
So
So the follow-up question is that for then that current pay period, we would normally get you a file on the 15th or the 16th of April in the normal world. So will we still do that, or do we need to wait until you give us some sort of signal that the first file that we're going to be putting up on the 14th is actually processed? And how would you like us to work that out for those of us who are going to have to send you two files basically within a couple of days?
there's really no difference in that scenario because
Okay.
again, if you had participated in the contribution reporting process, if your file imports, you can go through your process of file import number one that you were holding, get through that to get it to done and to get it to release, and then you could immediately go and upload the next contribution file and upload, and you'll have those work through it and get it posted and released. And in each one of those situations, transactions will then be created that you can make payments against. So I think you kind of just need to think through it from your own operational perspective. What makes sense for you? Do you want to go through, the one payroll that you were holding, get it all the way through until you fully get the transaction and the payment, and then work the next file? Or, work both files that day, get both files uploaded and in place and get the transactions open for payment to then follow up the next business day with payment. So I would kind of say you kind of leave it to what operationally makes sense for you.
Okay, and then in terms of the demographic file, NAU's never sent you one before in production. So, are you expecting demographic files that week, or can we wait until the next week to send that?
You can wait until the next week on that. But again, what I would say around the demographic side of the house is you may want to make that a little bit more priority only because of new hire enrollments, right? And we know that there's election periods associated with new enrollments. And so while we're already potentially uh, members might be impacted by this blackout period from the 25th through the 13th, we want to get those new enrollments in as soon as possible to kind of, you know, prevent any additional waiting period of a member getting their ability to make an election. We'll still provide them for full 90-day election periods. So we'll take it on a case by case basis as members begin making their elections. But I would say again, from a system perspective, once we're go live in the system, all full functionality should be there. So you should have the ability to do contribution reporting, demographic reporting, all of
Okay,
that as of the 13th. So,
great. We can do that then.
yep,
All right. Thank you so much.
awesome. Great question. Thanks, Renee. A couple questions related to on the retirement side of the house with health insurance files and health insurance reporting. So that is something that we know is probably going to be a little bit of a, I wouldn't say, well, I am going to say a clunky type of experience for us because that does impede with our normal pension payroll timelines. And normally we tell our employers all transactions, new retirees, health insurance changes, enrollments, subsidy requests have to be in by the 10th of the month in order for it to be reflective that month. So we're preparing ourselves internally for having to have basically a backloaded process that we're going to be doing a lot of processing and supporting our employers because they won't even have abilities to report any changes and enrollments in the system until the 13th. So while we say the 10th of the month, we're not changing that deadline. It's still the 10th of the month. So what we're asking at this point is for those employers who normally would send in like the ER sub forms and the forms now, just continue to do that process for April because we think that that's going to be the easiest way to manage those enrollments for the month of April. Then I would say in May is where you may want to start utilizing the manual enrollment process, or if you anticipate using um, the file import process. But as of the 13th, you should have the ability to do those transactions, import health insurance files, make manual enrollment changes within the portals. And we anticipate keeping those functions because our goal and in a future state is because we know we have timelines around our pension payroll, we might be going through monthly uh, cycles of closeout of those functions. Like the system goes down by the 15th of the month, so that we can finish up our pension payroll so that we can't have any more transactions coming in through the employer self-service portals. But for this month of April, we understand that you won't even have access into the system until the 13th. So we're not instituting any of those type of functionalities within the portals at this point. But I would say my recommendation would be for the month of April, if you are a manually reporting employer now, which that's the high majority of all of our employers, just continue that same process that you do now with submitting that ER subform. And if you get it in by the 10th, you're good to go. If you're going to wait and want to feel out how the process works manually within STARS and you want to wait to the 13th, you can certainly do that as well. And we're working through that process for the April payroll. So I hope that answers those individual questions that came through.
Robert, I just have a question regarding that. And I'm sorry to cut you off. This is Ashley from the city of Tucson. So I had asked the question about what would the deadline be if it's not going to be the 10th. So you answered that part of it. My question would be if we do still send those ER forms, normally now we'll get a census report from your team so that way we can do our reconcile. Would that still happen for us the end of April, early May, or would we be able to pull reports from STARS based off of the ER forms that we submitted?
You will be able to pull that, like Joann demonstrated, was it? I think it was last week where we did health insurance reporting, and that end of month report that she demonstrated, that will be available at the end of April. So you would have that functionality, that report that once we've closed out April's pension payroll, you will be able to run that detail subsidy premium report that that you could utilize as part of your reconciliation exercise. If for any reason you run into issues with generating that report yourself at the end of April, absolutely reach out to us and we can coordinate and make sure that you get the necessary report outs that you would traditionally get on a monthly basis.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You are so very welcome. Question related to setting up their banking information during the blackout period. Are we able to set up our banking information before the blackout period begins, Joann?
Thank you. Great question. So with STARS launching on April 13th, that would be the first opportunity that you would have to be able to set up the banking information in STARS. So again, the administrator will need to do that initial login, and which would be the login would be the employer email address, and then they would reset the password in order to log in, and then that administrator would provide access to the users and staff to be able to access that menu in the ESS. So whoever is tasked with going in and setting up that payment, that would be done as soon as it is available, as soon as you're able to log into the ESS area on or after April 13th.
Awesome. Thanks, Joann. We do have a question that has come up, and I think I'll go ahead and answer this one. Are we still able to submit a test file? Quick answer is you can do that, but we are now at our point in our system where our environments that we traditionally have been using to test out files on behalf of employers are now being utilized for other cutover functions and testing and preparation of go live. So testing the file, there is definitely going to be delays if you have not yet tested your files for structural soundness that you'd be able to import. So you could submit the files, but unfortunately at this point, we cannot guarantee that we would be able to provide any necessary feedback on the results of the test of that file and import of that file, given the constraints of our current resources and system availability to test out those files. So that may or may not be able to support your needs ahead of our go live. And you may have to just wait until we're go live and you try to import the file and see the results, and we'll work with you through those exercises. But test files at this point is really kind of, you could submit a request for a test file, but we cannot at this point guarantee any ability to be able to test it, validate it, and provide any feedback associated with that test file structure. Uh, follow-up question related to that, Joann, on the file structures itself. There's a question related to examples or sample files for contributions. And I would also probably follow that up with demographics. Where can employers get information related to file specifications?
Thank you, Robert. A good question. So both of the contribution file specification and the demographic file specification documents, they are on the STARS Pension Administration web page at the very bottom as a resource. Now, what you can, and I don't think you can, no. And we did provide it to everybody previously, but if you would like a sample file, please go ahead and email Harold or I, or both of us, and we can send you the file sample that was actually embedded in the original file specification document for both contribution and demographics. And we can provide that to you. It's probably a little easier for us to go ahead and email that back to you. So you'll have that information. But honestly, the file specification document for both contributions and the demographic file are a really great resource for ensuring that the columns on the Excel spreadsheet are set up correctly. And for the text file, if you remit that way, it does have the start and stop positions or start and end positions. And so that again is a really good resource to ensure that, if we can't test that file for you, that you can ensure that the information is set up correctly as it should be based upon that information. But just let us know and we can email you the sample files that we have available.
Thanks, Joann. There is another question here. I think I'll take this one as well. Related to current credits within the system for contributions, whether it's a prepaid credit, whether it's the fire insurance tax credit, or any credits that were created as a result of adjustment processes that have occurred. Question is, how will those credits be handled, and how will those funds be accessible in the new STAR systems? Are they going to be converted? Et cetera, et cetera. Short answer is yes. And that's kind of the reason why we're closing our portals next week, to allow us all of our time to close out any open invoices against any available credits, to again minimize as many open invoices as possible being converted. But for those employers that even when that exercise has been completed by our teams to close out all of those individual invoices, if there still exists credits, whether prepaid, etc., those are being converted into stars. So that will be converted, and you will have visibility and availability to view those credits once we're live in STARS on the 13th. And if you attended the payment process that Harold hosted, or the contribution reported process that Joann hosted, they did provide where you would see those credits and where you would see that information within the STARS system once you're able to get in. So credits, prepaid funds, any credit that's being still attached to your account when we transition and convert over will be available within STARS. One thing you do have to remember, and this has been discussed over the life of the project as well for the last 5 years and was discussed during the trainings, is in the new STAR system, credits are credits, whether it's a credit for the DB funds or credit for the DC funds. And so we will be applying credits on a first in, first out basis through batch processes to basically apply any available credit to any open invoice that is showing on an employer's account. And that is a daily batch process. So that is one thing to be aware of, that Credits will be treated on a first in, first out basis, as opposed to currently right now as an employer, you have abilities to check a box. Do I apply a credit? Do I not apply the credit? Things of that sort. That is all going away. You will have as an employer, when you report your contributions and an open invoice is created, you will have the ability to apply the credit immediately through your business processes. But if you do not do that immediately and the business day closes during that overnight batch process, credits are going to be swept. I shouldn't say swept, but credits will be automatically applied to any open invoices. And so, as Harold demonstrated last week, you could see what the starting balance was and what remains based upon any credits that have already been applied to previous open invoices. So that will those credits are being converted over, but just again, want to reiterate that how the application of credits are being handled moving forward is changing through the new system. A question, Joann, related to, it looks like I think this is tied to our normal business process of tier 3 new hire enrollments when their election period ends. I know our call center team right now has a weekly cadence in which they send information to employers indicating, Joe Firefighter's 90 days period has ended. Here's their elections, whether it's DB, DC, if it's DC, what their DC rate is, et cetera. Will that information still be made available to employers, or how will that be managed?
All right. Let's see if my memory goes back that far, because I believe we talked about it during the demographics of training that Harold provided. And yes, there will be information provided to the employer regarding those tier 3 new hires and their decision as to whether or not DBDC and all of that. It would be the same process. You will receive notification that of what the members' decisions were regarding that.
And Joann, just to kind of follow up on that, the what I would also say is, yes, we do anticipate still continuing that business process of notifications um, through our system to our employers. But the beauty of STARS, if you attended the demographic training process and how to report new hire enrollments, is that you will have access to that information and data whenever you need through the employee roster. Um, you can filter the roster by statuses. You can filter the roster by tiers, and you will be able to identify where your people are in terms of their plan enrollments, where they are in their statuses. And in addition to that, the report that is traditionally sent to you right now is being built out in STARS, and we anticipate that report being exposed to our employers so that they can run the report themselves at any point in time and on an ad hoc basis to get that information as well. So that's the beauty of I think one of the upsides of the new system is that you have a lot more insight to your member roster and your member accounts. So, but yes, we do anticipate continuing that exercise. And then, of course, we will evaluate as we learn more and more about the system. We will evaluate how long we continue that practice. All right, Joann, just taking another quick look at questions here. Question here, and I think I'll go ahead and take that one. Question, again, going back to payment processes, credits being made available, and how they're being handled. If the contributions are being uploaded and payments are being made, at that same time, and that I'm assuming at the same time during that business process, you've reported your contribution, an invoice has been created, and there's an open transaction, and you as an employer uh, make a payment at the same time. What I would say in terms of, because the question is will any open credits be applied to that same invoice? The short answer is if at the end of that business day, if that invoice is still showing as open, then yes, credits will be automatically applied to that invoice. And so what I would suggest, because our payment process is also on a daily batch process, to pull all the requests for payments that then get sent to the bank. The bank then goes through their process to validate funds and send funds to our account that we then apply to our invoices in the system. That could be a 1 to 2 business day turnaround, right? And so if you as an employer are going through the process of uploading the contributions and creating these open invoice transactions, what I would say is if you see open credits also sitting on your account at that time, you can do one of two things. You can either go ahead, apply the credits yourself, because Harold did demonstrate that during the payment process last week. You could apply those credits yourself immediately at that time to reduce your credits down to 0 if that's what ends up happening based upon the open transaction. And then what remains as uh, an amount due, then establish a payment to pay the remainder. You could certainly do that and get that payment processed all the way through. That's one way you could approach it. Second way you could approach it is I'm an employer. I upload my contributions. I see that the transaction gets created to create that open invoice. I see also that there is an open credit against on my account. So I'm going to hold and allow the system to do their daily batch processes and let the system do its daily batch process to apply the credit automatically itself overnight. I come back in the next business day and I come in and I see what remains as open transactions on my account. And then at that point, I will submit a payment to close out the remainder of uh, my liability. So that's, in my view, one of two ways you can approach it as an employer. But I would say if you try, if you make a payment at the same time that you upload your contributions, and at the same time you see a credit, I I would be very hesitant to go through that exercise because yes, you are right that it's going to be a couple days between when we make the request for payment, when we get the validation that the payment's been received so we can close out invoices. But at the same time, there's the overnight batch process that's happening for credit sweeps. So like I said, I would recommend that you as an employer take one of those two options that I talked about. Either apply the credits yourself immediately and pay remainder, or let the batch process happen overnight to apply the credits and go back in and determine what is the remaining payment that you need to make, and then set up that payment request to close out the remainder of your liabilities. All right, Joanne, I think we have addressed the
Robert,
questions.
Robert,
Yes,
is it okay if I ask a question?
sure. Go ahead, Kelly.
Because I'm dying over here.
Hmm.
So basically, if we're on the demographics enrollment side, we want to make sure we get everybody's demographics enrollments done, by the 24th. And then after the 24th, we just hold it until we go live on the 13th. And then on the 13th, then we can start, either manually entering them or using the UpDocs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I just
You
wanted
are-
to confirm because we're a huge agency and we have a lot of enrollments.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And then one last question. During the blackout, how are we going to know if they have a 90-day wait or not? Or what tier? We're not going to know then, right? Until we go live. And that's when we'll find out, and we might have to do corrections afterwards if they are, like, let's say, immediate.
That is a true statement. And so what I would probably suggest is if there's a concern around that, absolutely reach out to us. Because even though we're in a blackout period for our employers to have visibility into the systems, we'll probably have visibility into the system a whole lot sooner than you would. So you can certainly reach out to us if you have concerns, if you need us to kind of evaluate some of the membership of a tier enrollments and things of that sort. So I would suggest sending an email to us, and we'll be happy to support and look through that for you and give you any feedback.
Okay,
I mean, our
thank you.
hope is, with yes, it is about almost a 2-week period. Hoping there's not a lot of hiring happening and going on, but we get what that happens.
There will be on our side,
Yeah,
that.
yeah, right.
We hire whole entire classes,
Yeah, right,
How
right.
if I tell them Robert said no hiring during that time?
Right. I don't think my name is gonna fly at your guys' agency, so you could
Oh, come
try.
on.
You could certainly try, but
we could use a slowdown, so I would love to use that excuse. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
No problem. Joanna, I think that closes it, and I know we need to hop into a training that's probably kicked off about a minute ago or two.
Yes, thank you, everyone. The training that is happening at 2 p.m. or as soon as we get close out here is regarding local board self-service and member self-service. So you can get a view of those two areas. And again, that's at as soon as we conclude this, we will start that training, and Harold will start that training since I got to start this one. So he will be covering member self-service, so you can get a view of that. And then the Q&A 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. tomorrow with regards to the topics. And so thank you everyone for joining us. We will have another monthly check-in on the third Wednesday of April, which will be April 15th at 1 p.m. So thank you everyone and have a great afternoon, and please join us for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.